Everyone is talking about the Texas spring game, so let's attack it from the recruiting angle. I got Justin Wells on this video from Inside Texas. We're going to hit on a few of the biggest names that were in Austin over the weekend. But first, Texas fans, hit subscribe to the On3 Recruit channel. We love talking Longhorn recruiting, so jump on board, hit subscribe for me, please. All right, let's bring on Justin Wells from Inside Texas. We'll start with linebacker Riley Pettijohn, McKinney, Texas. We talk about him all the time. Borderline 5-star. You already put in a prediction for him to Texas, but what did you learn about his recruitment this weekend?
I learned that I feel really good about my prediction to Texas. Elijah Barnes, there's two big-time linebackers in DFW for 2025 that Texas loves, Elijah Barnes and Riley Pettijohn. Both were supposed to take their decisions closer to, June post visits.
Right.
And honestly, Barnes just decided he was done. Pettijohn, I think, is still going to probably take those visits, but I still love where Texas is at. He's going to see Ohio State. He's going to try to see USC. He's got a few other places lined up, but Texas is in a great position with Riley Pettijohn right now. The kid ran a 10.7 last week. I mean, at the linebacker position, high-end 4-star, exactly what Johnny Nansen and this bunch need to do. Texas only took one linebacker in the last cycle, Anthony Smith out of Jasper when they flipped the A&M guy. And so Pettijohn is just as important as Barnes, and getting to see him and his family was a treat on Saturday. And at the end of the day, I think they left with the same admiration they had when they showed up.
All right. Well, are you going to improve your confidence? I think if I remember correctly, you got Riley Pettijohn at like 65%. Is that still indicative of how you feel?
Actually, I would increase that. We're trying to gather everything. Yesterday was so crazy. There's some there's some RPMs I'm considering putting in this week, and we'll talk about a couple of those recruits too. But I could increase that. I feel good there, man. Mm-hmm. I just think it makes too much sense. There's a really natural fit there, a natural organic relationship with the program and with the school. You're right. I might.
All right.
You gotta just tell fans they have to continually click on 3, go to On3 Recruits, refresh the RPM board. If they'll do that about every 5-10 minutes all day long,
you might see it go up.
You might see it.
All right. Last week on Thursday when you were on the show, I asked you about running back James Simon. At the time, he was trending heavily to LSU, but after LSU picks up JT Lindsey to go along with Harlem Berry, it just seems like James Simon is going to be destined to be a Texas Longhorn, but I know he's taken other visits. Now, you spoke to him coming out of his Texas visit this weekend. How do you feel about James Simon?
Yeah, Simon's been busy. He's been on the road. He went to LSU, Alabama, Texas A&M, and this was the last stop. He was actually supposed to hit Miami, I think, next weekend, but that's not going to happen now. This was his last stop. And just catching up with him, him and his family were there, his dad, his brother. They loved it. Coach Choice and Coach Sarkisian, they sold him on being a member of this class and how he would fit. But really, it was the spring game. He loved the action that the running backs were getting. He sees himself as a fit in this offense, watching Jaden Blue, watching C.J. Baxter, watching a Trey Wisner, and then seeing freshmen like Jarrett Gibson and Christian Clark getting some carries as well, tells him, he would have the opportunity to play early if he needed to. I think the biggest thing with James is he only has one official visit scheduled, and that's Texas for June 21st to the 23rd. He kind of let it out that a May decision could be in the works. And I think that's actually probably accurate. I don't think this thing is going to last too much longer unless there's a big shift in the Jordan Davison recruitment, and I don't see that happening. I think James Simon in Texas just makes too much sense. He's a fit, what they're doing. Choice and Sark, just, they made sure, they doubled down on the fact that they love him and they think he would be a great fit. And so he stayed overnight too. He was in Austin for 3 days. And I think a lot of times those guys get caught up in those visits. They get caught up in all the atmosphere and the environment. And then when you're hearing what you want to hear from the coaches, it's just a really good time. And so James Simon in Texas, if they weren't close when we talked last week, they are certainly there now.
All right, we'll keep an eye on James Simon. The next wide receiver, or the next prospect I want to talk about, was a bit of a surprise. There weren't a whole lot of surprises this weekend because you guys at Inside Texas do a great job confirming all these recruits coming in. But there was one, and that was wide receiver Kelen Johnson. He was expected to be out in California for that USC spring game, but he showed up in Austin. He's been there a bunch. Is this a sign that maybe he's shutting things down and could be added to the Texas commit list soon?
Absolutely. I think with Kelshawn, I spoke to him, I believe it was Thursday or Friday, we reported that he canceled the USC trip and that he was coming back. And this was going to be the first opportunity for his mom to come to campus, because usually it's with coaches, other recruits, other players, teammates of that sport. And so Kelshawn came out of that, if he, the best thing that best position you could have seen in the spring game was the wide receiver. And the fact that a true freshman early enrollee that just turned 18 and Ryan Wingo went off tells you enough. That right there is a sales pitch. And so I think Kelshawn and Texas, they have a great relationship. I think Texas wants 4 in this class. I know DeCorian Moore or Jamie French are the priority guys, right. The 1A, the 1B. And I know they love Marcus Harris out of Modern Day. They're in good standing with Andrew Marsh, Kalik Lockett in Texas.
Lockett, yeah, we can't forget about him.
They're looking really good too. And so, but Kelshawn's a guy that I think in the next few weeks, we're going to see a couple dominoes. Okay. And we're going to see a few spots start to get filled in, because the longer Kelshawn waits, I think the less likely he would end up in this class. So if he goes ahead and jumps in, he's got an array of official visits in June. He'll be in Austin in mid-June. I think that's coming to an end. If he wants to be in this class, I think he's going to have to make some pretty hard decisions in the next few weeks. But the fact that he was able to bring his family, I think, was big. Mm-hmm. They love Chris Jackson. They love Sark. Those guys compare him to Xavier Worthy. They tell him, look, you've got that speed, that quickness that you can fill in there. Makes a lot of sense, not to mention he's a dog on the track, and he's an absolute great point guard in basketball. He took Hitchcock to the 3A state championship last year. And so he's a very well-rounded multi-sport kid. I love where Texas is there, but I think he's going to need to get his spot. Arkansas is in the mix, USC's in the mix, Texas A&M is still kind of flirting with him a little bit. But if he wants to be in Texas class of 2025, I think he's going to have to make a decision in the next few weeks.
It feels like that's the way it's trending, so we'll keep an eye on him as well.
Yeah, I think it's Texas to lose, in my opinion.
Yeah, you hit on a couple things that I want to talk about. There was a game held in Austin, and Arch Manning, he went off. He reminded everybody he is who he is for a reason. Quarterback Trey Owens also looked good. You hit on Ryan Wingo, the freshman wide receiver who's just been on campus for a couple weeks. He went off. What does all this do for recruiting?
Everything.
Yeah.
If there's one thing, if it's not the NFL draft, it's coming to these games and watching these young players play, because they know they'll have the opportunity. And every player, ready, whether they're ready or not, wants that opportunity to play early. They don't want to sit if they don't have to. And so watching Ryan Wingo go off, watching Trey Owens look tremendous as that's your third string quarterback there. And then again, Arch Manning. I mean, it's hard not to see that and not to envision yourself. KJ Lacey was on campus. On Saturday, and he was able to be there. And who showed up on campus today? Keelan Russell out of Duncanville. So, that position's going to get interesting. Yeah. But when you watch Arch Manning and Trey Owens and what they did, Sark wants to go vertical. He's got 2 guys there to do it. I mean, name a better backup quarterback in college football than Arch Manning. And I think our guy JD Bickell put out a video earlier talking about, there was a lot of innuendo that Manning is only a 5-star because of his last name. He'd be a 3-star if he had any other last name. And it's about as silly as you can get. That kid he's ready. He's just waiting in the wings. Quinn Ewers has the job. He's the incumbent. He's the guy that's going to have a big year for them, but he hasn't been healthy. He hasn't played a full season since high school. And so Arch is a guy that I think if Sark gave the keys to him during the middle of SEC play, that would feel pretty comfortable. I think he would come out there and do pretty well. But for recruiting, it's huge because they see the opportunity. You ask a DeCorian Moore when he came to visit a couple weeks ago and he got to watch the live scrimmage, what stood out? He said, Ryan Wingo. He's like, if a true freshman that just enrolled can get in the rotation and make plays, I can do that. So they see themselves. They envision themselves. So anytime you have good play at any position, I think it helps with recruiting. But the younger guys, it shows that Sark will absolutely play the best player. And I think that's why we're going to see Wingo a lot this fall.
Yeah, and Texas was the place to be for spring games. Probably the most exciting weekend of all the spring games. You guys did an incredible job at Inside Texas. We only hit on the highlights. You guys, Texas fans, go check out Inside Texas. They have it all covered. Football, recruiting, everything. Great job. Justin Wells, appreciate you stopping by the Inside Scoop today.
Nothing but love, Josh.
Thank you for watching this video, and if you enjoyed that, go check out the hundreds of videos that we have on this channel, and also do me a favor, hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel.